Hi everyone, it's Stu here from 3B. Finally getting around to doing some more videos. I know it's been a while, I apologize for that, but we'll get cracking on with our first review, and we're looking at Amazon Prime HD, the music HD service, aiming to sort of compete with Tidal and Quobuzz. I think it's pronounced Quobuzz, the French one. And sort of giving those that are sort of more audiophile, want better quality, people like me, for instance, that are Tidal customers or Quobuzz customers, the opportunity to get higher quality music in terms of bit rate and sort of lossless uh, music to our audio systems, such as I've got a Cyrus system behind me and some Dali speakers, and I have that going through a called Mojo, which is a DAC, and outputting on my Cyrus system. So for that, you know, with downloads and streaming, I need sort of really good high quality stuff. And previously, all you kind of really had with that was Tidal or Quobuzz, and I still really like Tidal. Tidal to me still is the leader in high bitrate, lossless streaming. They have a great catalog. The actual additional information you get with Tidal is a lot better than what you get elsewhere. It's kind of more of a, there's a lot of more additions in terms of Tidal, but of course you pay for that. But let's compare sort of Amazon Music HD, which is what they're calling it, and then some of the other sort of Quobuzz and Tidal, and I've used a lot of those. I've used all of them, and look at what you get in terms of what Amazon offer and what the others offer, and if it's actually worth it. So the first thing really you have to consider when you're subscribing to a service like this is what you're going to play it on. And that's hugely important, I feel. It's all well and good saying, I want the best, I want my music to sound incredible. But if you're going to be playing it on a, you know, a tin can, for for want of a better description, you know, the sort of the in-ear headphones, earphones you get with your mobile phone, you're really not going to notice much difference. And that's where we see a lot of these criticisms coming for these services, is that people are actually using them on inferior equipment that wouldn't necessarily benefit from having this higher bit rate. So really you have to look at the output, in terms of what you're going to be outputting it on, and whether that's actually going to be beneficial to you. You know, if you're using a decent high-end system, and mine's not super high-end, but it's, you know, it's not a budget system by any stretch of the imagination, then having that go through that system as opposed to, say, my phone and the headphones that came with the phone, then that's a good user case for that. Also, Amazon are releasing in November their updated Echo speakers. There's the Echo, is it the 360 HD or something? There's this one with a sub and several speakers, and it does Atmos and so on. I've actually got one of those on back order, and we'll do a review of that using this very service too, using the Amazon Music HD. So you've always got to consider what you're going to play it on first before you then subscribe to it and then dismiss it or approve of it, really. But really you're going to get the most from it if you're sort of outputting that source on a high quality system. So having said that, I do have an awful lot of experience of using Tidal, which I'm a big fan of, and Quobuzz, which is has been around for a long time. They've struggled a lot over the years because of Tidal, sort of taken a lot of their the wind very much out of their sails. Very similar services, although Tidal has a lot a greater library and sort of a better, it just more contemporary feel to it, whereas the Quobuzz is more sort of aimed, I feel from having used it a few times, more towards classical and so on, but they're trying to move away from that. But they're certainly struggling, Quobuzz, and they've had another funding round that's got them out of trouble. Tidal, as we know, is the king of the block, and it's not cheap. It's £20 a month. You get a month free, I think, and there's various offers around that you can get a bit more. But most of the time it's a month trial for nothing, and then it's £20 per month. And the service is really good, and I really love the reviews, the information they give on the artists, similar artists, and so on. So you get a real idea of being able to pull, say if you like one artist, you can really get down these little rabbit holes and discover some great new music. That's the thing I love most about Tidal. And one of the things, in fact, in many ways was missing, I would say, from Amazon HD or Amazon Music HD. In terms of that sort of rabbit hole approach, there is some recommendations they give, but they're relatively, it's just similar bands, and that's about it. And there's certainly no additional information on what you're listening to, the artist, or any sort of additional information that can help you draw you into the knowledge of that band and who you may like beyond that. In terms of the sort of the technicalities, the standard streaming that you get on things like Spotify, standard Amazon Music, and other similar services is up to 320 kilobits per second, which isn't great. It's okay for listening on, your phone or anything like that. It's okay for that, but I really wouldn't recommend using it to play through a high, a decent system if you're really serious about music. The HD service, the HD part of Amazon HD Music, is what they say is similar to listening to on CD, which is at 16 bits at 44.1 kilohertz, which is pretty good. That is CD quality, and comparatively it is kind of like that. I've got a Cyrus CDXT, and that pulls a lot more from a CD. I know that sounds a bizarre thing to say, but it just sounds better when playing CDs, when I can play the same album on say through Amazon. I do notice a difference. Having said that, though, it is marginal, and the quality on sort of Amazon standard HD, what they call CD quality, is very, very good indeed. They do have an Ultra HD, which is, I found mostly is around about 24-bit, 44.1 kilohertz, but it's okay. It's good quality, it's great, but there isn't an awful lot of that around, not certainly as much as the HD. They're improving it, and I'm seeing more and more of it the more I've used it over the last sort of week or so. They say that the bit rates can go up to 24-bit 192 kilohertz, but I've not seen any tracks that have that sort of completely lossless streaming output yet. I've not seen any at all. So if any of you find some of those, I'd really like to hear them. Most of the time I've found 24-bit sort of 90, at the most so far 96 kilohertz, which is the most of the time, or other than that it's been around about 24-bit 41.1 kilohertz, which is still pretty good. I would still say that's a very high bit rate and relative, lossless. In terms of library, they're much of a muchness now, although I think Spotify still has somewhat of an edge. And the cost of this is one of the key things I think Amazon are looking to do, as always, is kill on cost. So the HD Amazon Music HD is $12.99 per month, and if you're a Prime member, you get it for $7.99 for each month for the first 3 months, which is a great deal when you compare it to $19.99 from Tidal. although having looked and used Tidal, there are a lot of benefits to Tidal if you're willing to spend that extra £8 or so. Is it worth that? I don't know. Yes and no. It's really one of those things. I think Tidal has a greater range of higher bit rate, um, uh, sort of a higher bit rate library, a greater range of that than opposed to Amazon. But knowing how aggressive Amazon is with regards to these services and the fact that they're bringing new hardware in November, I would imagine that they're going to be incredibly aggressive and looking to sort of update their libraries and catalogs to have a more higher bit rate. So in terms of quality, I think it's, pretty good. I've played it on I've got some focal Elia headphones, which you can just see behind me there, and there's my Cyrus system just there. And it does sound really good comparatively when you're comparing Tidal and Amazon HD together on similar tracks with the same bit rate. You can't tell them apart. The only difference is that Tidal seems to have a larger library of higher bit rate streaming and downloads. In terms of downloads, um, the Tidal downloads in FLAC. I've not managed to download anything from Amazon just yet, but I imagine that it's just going to be a higher bitrate MPEG file on that front. So we will see a sort of an MP4 file on a lossless format, I guess. Not a lossless format, but a higher bitrate MPEG file. I'll get there eventually. You know what I mean. Anyway, so what do I think? I think Tidal still has the edge. If you're prepared to swallow the extra £8 cost, £8, it's probably worth it in terms of that. Just the fact that it has a much broader library of sort of what Amazon call Ultra HD. Tidal have that in spades. Although Amazon is being, I imagine, more aggressive and will update their libraries and catalogs with Ultra HD as they go along. So I imagine it's only a matter of time. I have a wider concern in terms of how this then reflects in terms of the artists involved. Tidal don't pay artists a great deal of money in terms of what they pay to the record labels that then distribute that to their artists. And there's a lot of criticism with that. Tidal have faced a lot of criticism with that, which is ironic considering the owner of Tidal. And then on top of that, we have Amazon, which is going to actually charge even less, which means there's less money to go around to be shared with the record labels to then be distributed to the artists that are getting played. So there could be a knock-on effect of this, that artists are actually going to end up getting even less money. So that's a concern. That's a concern I have with regards to the wider aspects of the industry and how streaming has always been problematic and a bit of a thorn in its side, very much so. So overall, Amazon HD Music, or Music HD, whatever you want to call it, is pretty good. You still need a good, high quality means of outputting that to get the best from it. Otherwise, you're really not going to notice too much. I wouldn't recommend it if you just listen on your phone on some sort of normal sort of earbuds or headphones. I really wouldn't recommend it unless really you're pushing that through an additional DAC. Because the DACs, even though this is an S10 Plus, are pretty cheap and nasty on those devices. If you have a hi-fi, even better, I would recommend it. I would still recommend doing an A/B test between Tidal and Amazon HD, and then let your ears decide. And that's the key thing. At the end of the day, it really is a personal thing. It's a thing with a lot of people criticizing these sort of high bitrate services and streaming services as a load of sort of snake oil and nonsense, when it kind of isn't. Mostly, say 90% of the time, it isn't. And even though there are a lot of people that sort of debunk the benefits of getting HD or high quality lossless formats. From my ears, from my experiences and my use of it over many years, from buying downloads, lossless downloads and streaming through Tidal and what have you, I can't really go along that path and say that I agree with them. I really get a lot from these lossless formats and do notice a big difference. But I think ultimately it's what you play it on and what you get from your music. So give Amazon HD Music a try. It's well worth it. I would thoroughly recommend giving it a go. But also maybe try a trial with Tidal if you've never tried either of those lossless formats before. Services before. Try Tidal and also try Amazon. Try them together and compare it yourself and see what you think. But overall, I think it's a good start by Amazon, and I think, you know, they're going to be really aggressive. And also additionally, I think this is going to force Spotify to do something as well. Being the sort of leaders in streaming, pretty much, I think it's going to then force their hand to push beyond the 320 kilobits per second that they're using, which isn't particularly great. And also Apple too, but Apple will probably do it several years down the line and then claim the idea was all theirs all along. Oh, Apple. Anyway, that's my review. I do recommend it. I do recommend giving it a good go. It's well worth it. And if you like this video, if you like my videos, I'm going to be doing more of them. Please click subscribe. Let me know your thoughts in the comments too. What you think of lossless formats, what you think of Tidal, Quobuzz, Spotify, Amazon Music, Amazon HD Music, which is your preferred, and what are you going to be listening to it on also. So yeah, don't forget to subscribe. Click the bell. That's the key thing. Click that little bell down there somewhere. It's there, I think, because otherwise you won't get notified. I'm going to be doing more videos based around music and audio stuff and so on. I've got plenty to share with you guys and updates on that, because I always only really do reviews on sort of hardware that I've had a while, so I get to sort of get real hands-on with it. So I'll be doing some updates on those as well. And yeah, so keep in touch. Let's not be strangers ever again, I promise. Okay, have a great day. Thanks again. Subscribe and stuff, and I'll see you very soon. Take care.